Welcome to the September 19th, 2024 Planning Commission hearing. I will call the hearing to order at 1:03 p.m. Ms. Johnson, can we have a roll call vote?
Thank you, Vice Chair Wardlow. I'll take roll call. Chair Bauke is absent. Vice Chair Wardlow.
Here.
Commissioner Barnwell is absent. Commissioner Boss.
Present.
Commissioner DeLuccio.
Here.
Commissioner Lodge.
Here.
And Commissioner Wiscombe is also absent. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to preliminary matters, requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of ex-agenda items.
Chair Wardlow, we do not have any today.
Great. What about any announcements or appeals?
Chair Wardlow, we do have one announcement I do want to make to the public, and that is to let everyone know that the city's annual board and recruitment applications are currently open, and those applications are due on September 25th, 2025. So this is all the city's boards and commissions, including the Planning Commission. So if you or someone you know is interested, please visit the city's website, the application and vacancies website under City Hall for more information.
Great, thank you. Now on to review, consideration, and actions on the following draft Planning Commission minutes and resolutions. August 29th, 2024 Planning Commission minutes. Does anyone?
Their approval. Move their approval.
Second.
Great. Ms. Johnson, can I have a roll call vote?
Thank you, Vice Chair Wardlow. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Boss.
Yes.
Commissioner DeLuccio.
Yes.
Commissioner Lodge.
Yes.
Vice Chair Wardlow.
Abstain.
Motion fails.
It's fine because it's a majority of this body that's sitting, so you're good.
Gotcha. Motion passes.
Great. On to item D, public comments pertaining to items not on the agenda.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wardlow. At this time, I haven't received any speaker slips, and I'm not seeing any movement. We also don't have any virtual participants, and we didn't receive any written correspondence for this item, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. We will now close general public comment. We will now move on to new items, 2337 and 2339 Edgewater. The purpose of this hearing is to review and act on the following. 1, a lot line adjustment between 2 adjoining parcels. 2, modifications for 2 specific lot frontage requirements. 3, a coastal development permit. And 4, concurrence with the staff environmental analyst determination that the project is exempt from CEQA. We will now turn it over to Barbara Buckhart, project planner, for a presentation. Ms. Buckhart, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Wardlow. If we can get the PowerPoint on the screen, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'll move on to the vicinity map just to give you an idea of the project's location on the mesa. It consists of 2 sites. The site is located, it consists of 2 lots, which we're referring to as one site, the project site. So the project site is located in the appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. It is also located within the mesa component of the coastal land use plan, which is shown here in color. It consists of small lot, single unit residential development, such as the area of the project site, and also includes neighborhoods serving commercial uses, a lighthouse facility, and an elementary school further east. The land use designation is residential, 5 dwelling units per acre. And the component area consists of open space areas, Douglas Family Preserve, La Mesa Park, Shoreline Park, and the beach areas below the bluffs. Coastal access points of the component area are the Mesa Lane Steps, very close to the project site, and Thousand Steps, a little further east. Major coastal issues for this area include coastal beach and coastal bluff erosion. Because the site is located within the coastal zone, the lot line adjustment, which is the bulk of this application, requires approval of a coastal development permit, which in turn must be consistent with the California Coastal Act and the city's local coastal plan. And I'll discuss coastal policy just a bit later in the presentation. For now, I want to talk about the lot line adjustment. It involves a transfer of land from parcel 1, which is here, this large site here, 2339 Edgewater Way, would transfer land to parcel 2, which is down here. The area of the transfer is shown in green. This is all now belonging to parcel 1, would be transferred to parcel 2. And I want to discuss parcel 3 and parcel 4 because we talk about them in the staff report. They are not part of the lot line adjustment requests, but they would be affected in terms of easements that would be adjusted subsequent to an approval of the LLA. Parcel 3 is this long, thin lot here. It's 10 feet wide, and it's developed with a driveway. Parcel 4 is this larger parcel. It's currently developed with a single unit residence. And all 3 of these parcels shown in pink, parcel 2, 3, and 4, are currently owned by the same family, and they function as essentially as one parcel for them. And then this, just some images to kind of illustrate that better. This is parcel 1 and parcel 3 as seen from Edgewater Way. You can see that's up here, and parcel 2 is currently landlocked, meaning it doesn't have direct access from Edgewater Way. So subsequent to an approval of the LLA, there's an existing easement over lot 1 for the benefit of parcel 2, which would be rescinded. And then 2 new easements would be reserved. The first would be reserved over this portion of the adjusted parcel 2 and the entirety of the parcel 3 for the benefit of parcel 4, just allowing them access to their site. And the second easement that would be reserved would just be over parcel 3 and will be for the benefit of parcel 2, allowing access. This little area is about 7 feet wide, so they would need that driveway space. To approve a lot line adjustment, this commission must determine that the resulting parcels would conform to the zoning ordinance, the general plan, and the local coastal plan. Review of a lot line adjustment is limited by the Subdivision Map Act and our municipal code. So in terms of zoning ordinance consistency, the two standards that apply are lot area and lot frontage. The project would conform, it currently conforms, both lots currently conform, and the new lots would also conform. However, lot frontage does not conform, and therefore two zoning modifications are requested. The code requires that each parcel have at least 60 feet of public street frontage. In this case, that's just not possible. The existing parcel 1 only has about 50 feet right now. It would be reduced to about 43 feet by the lot line adjustment, giving about 7 feet to parcel 2. This is just some imagery that I came up with, just an aerial visualization. It's not to scale, it's just to kind of give you an idea of how this parcel 2 would be extended, would come out to the street here. So approval of the requested modifications require consistency with Title 28, which is the applicable zoning code, and requires that essential residential characteristics of the zone be maintained. The project does not include any physical development, therefore the residential characteristics of the area would be maintained. Approval of the mods would also prevent an unreasonable hardship, as the adjusted street frontage and street access would be more equitable for both parcels. So with approval of these modifications, the project would be consistent with the zoning ordinance as required for approval of the LLA. In terms of general plan conformance, policy LG 15, sustainable neighborhood planning, applies to the project, which really in this case looks at preserving and enhancing a sense of place. Again, there's no physical development proposed, therefore there would be no change to the neighborhood, and the sense of place would be preserved and enhanced. In terms of coastal policy conformance, the categories on screen apply to the project, and I'll go over each category separately. The first is land divisions and neighborhood planning, which require that the project be determined appropriate for residential development in terms of location and maximum densities. As we showed earlier, the site is located in an existing developed single-family neighborhood with adequate access to public services. The project would simply reconfigure lot lines, which are interior to the site. No physical alteration to existing site work or buildings is proposed. No increase in allowed densities is proposed, and no change in land use is proposed. Therefore, the appropriateness of residential development would be maintained in terms of location and maximum densities. Looking at scenic resources, the development shall be sited to protect scenic and visual resources of coastal areas. In this case, Edgewater Way is not designated as a potential city scenic route. No portion of the site is located within any mapped cone of view. The closest public scenic corridor is approximately 1,000 feet east of the site. And again, no physical development is proposed, therefore scenic and visual resources would be protected. In terms of cultural resources, the project must protect archaeological resources, and any development shall be sited to avoid adverse impacts. In this case, the site is partially located within a prehistoric watercourse buffer. However, no physical development is proposed, therefore no adverse impacts to the buffer area would occur. Looking at coastal resources and shoreline hazards, I just want to run quickly through what's mapped on site. This image shows coastal sage scrub at the lower portion of the site, and the rest of the site is considered urban. There's a high radon area at the lower portion of the site. The high landslide potential area is shown in orange. The green is a low potential area. We have very high erosion potential at the very lower portion of the site, and a FEMA VE flood zone at the very, very bottom of the site, which is really just the beach area. In this case, as no physical development is proposed, no significant adverse effects related to shoreline hazards, the coast, or coastal resources would occur, and any and all future development would be subject to coastal permitting requirements, which would include the requirement that it comply with policies addressing shoreline hazards. So for example, if a new single-family residence were proposed on either site, that development would require a separate CDP, which would come back before you at a later date. So in looking through all these categories, it can be, staff feels it can be found that the project conforms to the California Coastal Act and the local coastal plan as required for approval of the CDP and the lot line adjustment. In terms of environmental review, staff finds that project would be exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15305, minor alterations in land use limitations. The area of where the lot line adjustment would occur has an average slope of 3.66%, and none of the exceptions to the exemption apply. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the project, making the findings outlined in Section 8 of the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation.
Thank you, and we will now hear from the applicant, Jarrett Gorin from Vanguard Planning. Please state your full name and your relationship to the project for the record. You will have 15 minutes to present.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jarrett Gorin from Vanguard Planning, and I am the land use planner for both Kurt Custard, who owns 2339 Edgewater Way, and also our co-applicants, the Hack family over on 2337, and also I think 2327, the property they actually have their house on. So Ms. Burkhart really covered everything on this. My presentation is similar. I've got more detail and sort of larger scale images that might be helpful to just see what's going on really precisely with the lot line. So I'll just go through it quickly here and not have to dwell on stuff. Okay, so yeah, here's just some photos to orient you, similar to what you saw, just sort of zoomed in a little bit more. So that's our existing house on our property, and then you can see how the Hacks are using all of these parcels together sort of as one property right now, but that little arrow there is pointing at actually the parcel that we're doing the adjustment with. And here's an oblique view looking north. And then that's what it looks like with the beach in the background. And you can see the whole driveway corridor and panhandle coming up to Edgewater Way. And then these are the driveways. Ms. Burkhart did a really nice job actually putting the lines on there. Only things I'd want to point out in here are this telephone pole and then these mailboxes here that are kind of washed out, but they're there. So I'll talk about those a little bit later. So I'll just go through the lot line adjustment. When we were out on our site visit, I think Commissioner Wiscombe said this is like a Rubik's Cube. Could you do something to make this make sense? So that's what I'm going to try to do. So here's the overhead view again, and these are the existing lot lines. So as Ms. Burkhart pointed out, this is a landlocked parcel, although Commissioner Barnwell said, well, it has access to the ocean. But we mean it's landlocked in that there's no access to it directly from the street. So I'll move on to the map. I'm just gonna look at the portion of the map that matters here and ignore the whole part that's all down by the beach where nothing's happening. So that's the 2337 Edgewater parcel, and that's the easement that serves it right now, and it basically goes across my client's or Mr. Custer's driveway, and this gives them access to and from that parcel right now. And we're proposing to add, normally in a lot line adjustment, you're just taking one line and moving it from one place to another, but this has an additional moving part. So we are adding this new lot line, and then what will happen is down here, we're actually going to delete that existing portion of the northern portion of 2337. So that gives us a configuration where now 2337 has actual fee ownership of the land all the way up to the street. And it's, as Ms. Burkhart pointed out, it's about 7 feet wide, that strip that it will give them. And it gets wider down at the bottom. And then once that happens, that easement's not necessary anymore over the 2339 parcel. So that goes away. And then just to simplify it, here's the dirt we're transferring. So it's 2,497 square feet. That's the area. And then again, here's just what's happening with the lot lines. It's now that's just shifting over to the new property. So on the easements, I go over those in a little bit more detail. So this would be the proposed lot line configuration, and then I'm going to put these parcel lines on, and I'm referring them to as parcel 3 and 4, which is how Ms. Burkhart did it in the staff report, just so that it makes some sense. Those parcels aren't part of this project as parcels. They're affected by easements, but they're not in this adjustment in any way. So you've got the vacant parcel, which is mostly the driveway to the Hacks residence, and then parcel 4 is their actual residence down there. And so what we need to do, it's critical to the city fire that we have a 16-foot access that is provided for to all of the parcels down there that are going to use that. And so the way that we accomplish that is through, it'll be through a reservation of easement. You can't grant an easement to yourself in California, but what you can do is essentially the exact same thing, but you call it a reservation of easement. And then if either of these properties ever sold to a third party, it just gets triggered and exists. So we handle that up front. And so we'll be doing that here over parcel 3. We've got basically the entirety of the parcel so that this portion, so that 2337 Edgewater has access over that whole parcel. So that easement plus the actual 17 or 7 feet that they own in fee gives them 16 feet. And then the other thing and then it also gives, roughly 10 feet of this whole panhandle to 2327. And then the next easement is only for parcel 4 over that 7-foot portion of 2337. So we end up with a full 16 feet of width here between those two easements, granting each parcel will be guaranteed that they have easement rights to get that 16-foot width. And those easements are for ingress, egress, and public and private utilities. And just to be clear, our co-applicant had questions about when an easement says it's for public utilities, does that mean, we're giving it to SCE or somebody like that? And it doesn't. What it means is that if they wanted to do something on their property in Southern California, Edison said, we need access through here, they have the right to let SCE do it. Whereas without us specifying that, somebody in the future, if they have a difficult neighbor, could challenge that and say, well, you didn't have a right for public utilities. So we like to specify that in our easements. So back here at the street, this telephone pole is like it's within that 16 feet. So as part of this project, we have to relocate that pole outside the 16-foot width, and it'll either get relocated and still be a pole. The electrical services from the street to the house is going to be underground in our project, and we don't know if they're going to require us to underground this pole also or just move it. But either way, it will be not obstructing the 16 feet that's going to serve 2337 and 2327, or parcel 4, as in the staff report. And then the mailboxes, we'll just move those wherever the post office tells us to do it. The way our landscape plan and driveway alignment works, they'll probably be roughly where they are now because there's space between those driveways. But wherever they have to go, we'll just move them. So we end up with that final configuration, which I meant to look simple, but I guess it really doesn't. But that's it, the two parcels and then those two separate easements. And so I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, we can answer any questions you have.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Gorin. Ms. Johnson, would you let us know how much time the applicant has remaining?
Thank you, Vice Chair Wardlow. They have 7 minutes and 3 seconds remaining.
Great.
Great. That brings us to public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this specific item?
Thank you, Vice Chair Wardlow. At this time, I haven't received any speaker slips, and I'm not seeing any movement. We also do not have any virtual participants, and we didn't receive any written correspondence for this item, so I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, we can now close public comment, and now we'll move over to the question period of the hearing. I will turn to my fellow commissioners for any questions. Who would like to go first? Commissioner Lodge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Burkhart, there is a substantial change in future development in that what is now an unbuildable lot becomes a buildable lot with this change in the easement. Isn't that correct?
A very small portion of it, just due to the setback from the bluff edge, and so it's a very small portion of the site that I'm not sure too much could be done with, honestly. But
Okay.
it's not outside the realm of possibility that something could be developed.
Tall and skinny. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lodge. Now to Commissioner Boss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two questions. One, staying on the anticipated development section. I want to make sure that I'm understanding how we should consider it. I understand that it's, because it was in the staff report, but it wasn't as much in the presentation. So I think it's because we need to consider it with the lot frontage modification requirements, or is there something else that we should be considering? I wasn't clear. It's there, so I'm not sure how we
I think it's
consider
really
it.
just background to help you understand why this lot line adjustment is requested, and it does tie into future development that is proposed on parcel 1, which is 2339 Edgewater. They do have an application in right now for a new single-family residence. So just trying to give you a bit of that background. There are some enforcement cases which are being cleaned up as part of that application as well, or just one case. So that's kind of why we included that section, just to help you understand that there's several projects in terms of applications happening that are kind of part of one bigger sort of project. I hope that answers your question.
Sure, so more just context, but okay.
Exactly,
Thank you.
yes.
And then my other question was on page 12 and the conditions of approval. There's a line about the oak tree protection. And I thought during the site visit, there was conversation about a tree being removed, but I can't remember what tree it was. No, I just imagined that, okay. Okay, if I'm remembering incorrectly, that's fine.
Yeah, Chair or Vice Chair Wardlow, I don't know what it is when you're Commissioner Wardlow and Commissioner Boss. We were talking about exactly where it was relative to a lot line, one of the oak trees, and it was determined that it doesn't have to be removed. So all of the oak trees are in places where they're not impacted by any future development that's on the book or on the drawing boards right now. But if that was to ever change or anything else, that condition to protect those trees would still stay there.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Boss. Commissioner DeLucio.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of questions. Thank you for helping both of you, figure out this puzzle here. But I do have a question. I know the intent here is it parcel number 3 to give access to parcel number 1 and 4? Is that what the objective is? Parcel 3 is,
Yeah, Chair Wardlow, Commissioner DeLucio. So parcel 3 is the long skinny one that's just a driveway right now. And so the easements over that parcel are actually only for parcels 2 and 4.
2 and 4, okay.
Yeah, the access for parcel 1 is exclusively within parcel 1 and doesn't require any additional easements.
Okay, so then by giving them access, it'll be about 16 feet wide?
It's a total of 16 feet between the
Yeah.
two easements.
And then I noticed when you, on the diagram, it was like sectioned off, okay, partial 2 can use this side and partial 4 can use the other side. But is that really the way it is, or is it just going to be open to, as a wide 16-foot driveway? I'm thinking more for fire access.
Yeah, Commissioner, or Chair Wardlow, Commissioner DeLucio, it has to be left open, because the purpose of those easements is for ingress, egress, et cetera. And so if somebody was to try to fence off something between there, that would be interfering with the purpose for which the easement's granted, and that would be a violation of the easement.
Okay, one final question. I have to ask this question. Were you involved with the stop work order part of this project on parcel 1? Because the reason I ask, they're asking for an entitlement here. If they have an outstanding violation, can they get the entitlement until they resolve it?
I can answer the first part of your question.
Maybe the city attorney can ask that also.
Vice Chair Wardlow, Commissioner DeLucio, the two aren't tied to each other. The enforcement case is mutually exclusive. It may be possible that this is will help correct that, but they are exclusive.
Yeah, and in terms of the stop work order, just for the record, I want to clarify, that was a previous owner of 2339. And so our client bought that from him. We, Vanguard Planning, only got involved here after that stop work order, and originally we were just going to be working on abating that, and then things evolved from there. But the person that created this violation is out of the picture, and our client is going to abate that violation as part of a subsequent project.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, those are my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner DeLucio. I appreciate the comments and questions from my fellow commissioners. I do not have any questions at this time, so we'll move on to deliberations. But before I open it up for deliberations, I'll just remind everyone again what we are here to cover. So 1, a lot line adjustment, 2, modifications for specific lot frontage requirements, 3, a coastal development permit, and 4, concurrence with staff's recommendation that this is exempt from CEQA. So to keep this as efficient as possible, my fellow commissioners, if you can make your comments and hold for a motion until after everyone's made their comments, and then we will move forward with the motion. Commissioner DeLucio, is this now?
No, this is the deliberation.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, real fast. I actually am in favor of obviously moving this along here, and the modifications definitely can be met. This is definitely a case of a hardship, to prevent a hardship. Sometimes we have modifications that come before us and we have to make findings, and I don't know, but this one definitely is a hardship, prevent a hardship, and it'll meet the 16-foot current standard for allowing for public safety. So that's the comments I wanted to call out, and then so this is what it's all about, to put the lot line together. So I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from fellow commissioners? No comments? Going once, going twice? Okay. Then I will make some comments. So I concur with my one fellow commissioner, DeLucio. I can make the findings, and I definitely think that this is a necessary, update. So I appreciate the presentation by staff and Mr. Gorin, and I look forward to moving this forward. Does anybody have a motion?
I can try.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so going through each of them, unless you have a slide for us to read. So we can move that we make the findings that the project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under CEQA guidelines, as described in the staff report, that the parcels resulting from the proposed lot line adjustment will conform to the general plan, local coastal plan, and zoning and building ordinances, that the modification is consistent with the purposes and intent of the title and necessary to prevent unreasonable hardship, and the project is consistent with the policies of the California Coastal Act as described in the staff report, and is consistent with all applicable policies of the city's local coastal plan and all applicable implementing guidelines and provisions of the code as described in the staff report.
And I'll second that motion if I may.
Did I get it right?
Thank you, guys. Thank you both. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Vice Chair Wardlow, I'm sorry if I missed it. Did we also include CEQA in there? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Any comments on the motion, or can we move forward with the roll call vote? Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Vice Chair Wardlow. I'll take roll call. Commissioner DeLucia?
Yes.
Commissioner Lodge?
Yes.
Commissioner Boss?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wardlow?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. This action of the commission is subject to a 10-day calendar appeal period. Thank you, Ms. Buckhart, for bringing this item forward, and thank you, Mr. Gorin, for your presentation and your time today. That brings us on to the administrative portion of our agenda. Are there any committee and liaison reports? We'll start with Staff Hearing Officer. Commissioner Boss?
No report.
Are there any other committee liaison reports from other commissioners? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. It is now, wow, 1:36 p.m. That concludes our September 19th, 2024 Planning Commission hearing. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful day.